working with equivalent equations. Now, equivalent equations are two equations that if they have the same solution are considered to be equivalent. Adding or subtracting the same number to each side of the equation produces an equivalent equation. So you guys have worked with problems like this, x plus 3 equals 8 in the past. Today we're going to be working on showing that cancellation step so that as we move into two-step equations in one of our future lessons, we'll understand what we've gotten rid of. Okay, to solve one-step equations that involve addition, we are always going to subtract the constant. That's the standard number from the variable. Whatever you do to one side of the equal sign, you must also do to the other side. So here, when I look at this problem, I have W plus 13.2 equals 10.9. So I am working, when I solve equations, to get this W all by itself on one side of the equal sign, which means I have to do to the opposite to whatever number is there. So here I have a plus or a positive 13.2. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract that out so that I can zero out this side and leave it with just the W. So this is showing my cancellation. Whatever I do to one side of the equal sign, I then have to do to the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and say minus 13.2. Now, the key thing to remember on this is now that we're older, we're going to be working with rational numbers and integers, so those positives and negatives. So you're going to have to revert back to stuff that you learned at the beginning of this chapter and chapter 1. So here, when I look at this, I know I'm either adding or subtracting between these numbers, but I have to remember that I'm working with negative numbers here because it's really a negative 13.2. So if I go through and I work this out, I have W left here equals, I have a positive number and a negative number. Those are different. So I'm going to find the difference. So really, I need to go ahead and subtract between these, which means I need to have my 13.2 as my top number. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract like normal off to the side. And yes, you need to do this longhand right now. So we're going to go ahead and, okay, 12 minus 4 gives me 8. 2 minus 0 is 2. And then I have my decimal. Remember, you line up at the decimals. So I've got 2.8 for the digit. I now need to look back and think about, is it going to be positive or negative? So my bigger digit was a negative number, so that's going to make this a negative 2.8. Okay, so we're going to be working with the opposites, just now we're going to be also tying in those positive and negative numbers. Okay, so let's go ahead and try another one. So here I have y plus 12 equals negative 26. So we want to work to get this y so that it just says y equals. So here's our equal sign. We need to work so that we can just get y by itself. So right now we have a positive 12 with it, or a plus 12. The opposite is minus 12, or a negative 12. Whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other. Okay, so now when I go ahead and equal this out, I have y left on this side that's not canceled out, equals negative 26 minus 12. So same symbol, find the sum. So this time I'm going to add the digits. I get 38. And then apply the same symbol. It's a negative 38 for our answer. Y equals negative 38. If I want to check myself, I can plug that in. I can either do it longhand or I can go ahead and use a calculator to check myself, and I can do negative 38 plus 12, and it should give me negative 26. All right, so I want you to try this next one. Okay, here the C is in the second position, so it doesn't matter. You're still going to go ahead and work to get rid of this 15. And you need to think of it as it's a positive 15. So work your way through getting rid of that. Well, if it's a positive 15, then we're going to say a negative 15. Okay, it's not always going to be the opposite of this symbol. It kind of depends. Here it was a positive sign, but had it been a negative, it wouldn't necessarily be the opposite of whatever the symbol is. So here we're going to do minus 15. That's gone. We come to this side of our equal sign and we write the same thing. Okay, we're balancing it. That minus 15 is going off of each side. So now on this side, I have a positive C equals, same symbol, find the sum. So 27, apply the same symbol, negative 27. All right. Okay, here's another example of something that they might do. They may take a variable and put it on the right-hand side of the equal sign. I personally, it doesn't matter, because remember, you're always balancing the equation, so you're still going to work to get D by itself. I personally would rather look at this equation and rewrite it. It's an option that you have. So you could rewrite it by taking everything on one side and switching it to the other if you feel that you need that. But you don't have to. If I rewrote it, it would look like this. D plus 21, so take note, I kept these in the same order, equals negative 16. Okay, so I want you to go ahead and work your way through this one and check to see what you get for a final answer on this one. So you can pause your video, work through on your whiteboards, and see what you get for D, and then check back by restarting the video. You should have ended up with D equals negative 37. Okay, make sure you're showing that cancellation step, because that is a requirement. I will not accept just D equals 37. I have to see the canceling out, showing that how you're getting rid of that plus 21 by subtracting it. Okay, so sometimes we also have equations where it has a subtraction sign. So the key thing to remember is you're still working to isolate a positive variable. So here I had A minus 6 equals 13. So we're still going to work to get A by itself. Okay, here's our equal sign, which means I have to get rid of that minus 6 out of there. So to cancel it out, we're going to do the opposite of minus 6 or negative 6, and that's a positive 6 or a plus 6. Those zero out. Whatever I just did here, I have to do here. Okay, this is showing your steps. So I have A left over equals 13 plus 6 is 19. So A equals 19. If I want to check it, I can put 19 in there. 19 minus 6, yep, that does equal 13. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and write one up here, just because my other ones off to the side here are kind of complex, so then I'll pull those out in a minute. So let's say we did N minus 20 equals, we'll say 44. Okay, so we're working to get N by itself. So we want this to stay there. So we're going to get rid of that minus 20 by doing the opposite, because we need to shift it to the other side of the equal sign, so that on the left-hand side, since that's where N is, on the left-hand side, we can have it just say N equals. So we've got minus 20, so we're going to say plus 20. Okay, negative 20 and a positive 20 cancel out. Whatever I did on one side, I have to do on the other. So I get N equals 44 plus 20 is 64. Okay, so still working the opposite there. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and give you another one. This one I want you to try on your own, so you'll pause the video after I write it, and you'll work through it on your whiteboard. So let's do W minus 40 equals 73. Okay, so go through and work your way through this one, showing the cancellation, and then unpause the video and check your answer in just a couple of minutes. In the end, you should have ended up with W equals 113. Okay, so that's working with some subtraction when the variable's in the front. So now I'm going to introduce you to when sometimes you have variables that are in that position of being subtracted. So here, let's say I did negative 20 minus W equals 60. We'll work with numbers that are easy to do here. Okay, so our whole objective is to work on getting that W by itself. So what I have to realize is really that negative sign is with the W. So I'm going to show you a couple things and then you can kind of decide which one you're more comfortable with. So I still, if I want to work, hey, I always have to do the opposite to get rid of the number that's with it. Well, then I'm going to go ahead and do the opposite of negative 20, which would be plus 20. Okay, that's gone. Plus 20. Okay, so now when I subtract this out, I end up with a negative W, and yes, the negative is still there, equals 60 plus 20 is 80. Now, here's the thing. We can never have a negative variable. Okay, so if you end up where you go through and if you're subtracting the variable, there's actually a second step that you'll have to do, and that's where you're going to go ahead and do the opposite to both of your numbers or your sides. So I'm going to go ahead and do the opposite by taking it times a negative, which is going to cancel it out, and then take this times a negative or add a negative. So really we end up with W equals negative 80. Okay. Another step that I've used on this one before with students is, I'm going to erase these steps, but just leave my answer portion. Another thing that we've used in the past, so negative 20 minus W. Is I've also taught students that whenever that variable is in this position right here and you're subtracting, you can do what they call a flip-flop method. Okay, because ultimately that's what we did when we had that negative W equals equals 80. We flip-flopped the negative to the opposite sides. So another method is you could go through and you could do a flip-flop, and by doing that, we would now look at it like this, negative 20 minus, but you just flip-flop the number and the letter. You don't take the symbol with it. So if we flip-flop, it would become minus 60 equals W. See how when I put these together, same symbol, find the sum would be 80, apply the same symbol, so we would get negative 80 equals W. So you end up with the same on either of those answers. It's just whatever you're more comfortable with. If you like the flip-flop method, you can do that. If you prefer to just always think I'm going to do the opposite and then get rid of the negative in the very end, you can do that also. It's not very often as we get further into more complex problems that you're going to end up with just a negative. Sometimes yes, but not always. Okay, so let's try another one. So let's say I have 20 minus Z equals, let's do a negative 44 here. Okay, so if we go through and we work through the opposite, so let's go ahead and isolate this. So right now I have a positive 20 on that side. So we're going to go ahead and do negative 20 to cancel it out. Negative 20. Okay, we end up with a negative Z equals, same symbol, find the sum. So 44 plus 20 is 64. Apply the same symbol. So I have negative Z equals negative 64. Now to get rid of the Z, I'm going to have to go ahead and go times a negative, or to get rid of the Z, to get rid of the negative, which those will cancel out, right? So then I'm going to have to do times a negative again. Oh, two negatives make this Z equals positive 64. Okay, if you use the flip-flop method, the one thing that you're going to have to remember is although you leave the negative here, you take the negative with the number because this is really a negative 44. So if you do that flip-flop method, it would have looked like this, 20 minus, and then you flip-flop, so you would take that negative 44 equals Z. See how we have two negatives there? So it ends up becoming plus 44. 20 plus 44 would still get us to that positive 64. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and give you one here. I'll try and not work too many integers into it so that you can practice one of those two methods. So let's say we have 40 minus M equals 54. Okay, so I want you to go ahead and work your way through to find out what m equals. So remember, you're isolating by doing the opposite, or you're doing the flip-flop method. So go ahead and pause the video and work your way through either doing the opposite with that integer of 40 or doing the flip-flop method. You should have ended up with m equals negative 14. Okay, the other part to this lesson is working with verbal equations or equation sentences. And what you guys will be doing is you'll be converting them into a standard equation and then solving that equation if they give us the answer, or if they give us the word is. So here I have 10 more than a number, C, is 3. The one thing that I want you to realize is that when we see the word is, it's like putting an equal sign. So in math, the word is means equals. So 10 more than a number, C, is 3. So is 3, so equals 3. 10 more than a number, well, more than means we're going to be adding. And a number, well, the number they're telling us to use is C. So 10 more than C. So 10 plus C equals 3. So then you would go through after you write the equation, because on these you're going to have a two-step process. You're going to have to write the equation, and then you're going to have to solve for C. So right now we have a positive 10. To get rid of it, it'd be minus 10. Minus 10. So we have C equals, different symbols, find the difference. So 7, the larger number was negative. So C equals negative 7 here. So you have to have the equation and the final answer on these. Okay, so let's try another one. N decreased by 13 is 50. So we should at least be able to do that part right away. So is 50 means equals 50. And then we have to understand some vocab terminology. So decreased means subtracted by. So I have N decreased by 13 equals 50. And I'm going to write that equals 50 closer. Okay, so now you're going to go through and you're going to solve through for N. So I want to get N by itself, right? So right now it's a negative 13 or a minus 13. The opposite is plus 13. So I'm showing my steps now. So I had my original equation, and now I'm showing the steps of solving it. So plus 13. N equals 50 plus 13 is 63. Okay, there's my second part of the process, is giving the final answer. A number increased by 9 is 45. So I want you to try that one on your whiteboard. And then also try this one out, and then you'll check back in just a minute. The difference between a number P and 6 is negative 14. So you should be able to at least do these parts. Okay, so go ahead and pause your video and then check back in just a minute to see what the final answers are. Pause the video, work your way through. For right now, just write the equations, and then we'll go through and answer them together. Okay, so the key thing is on these, if they don't tell you what letter to use, you can use any letter. So like on the first one, a number increased by 9. Well, they didn't say what to use for the number, so I'm just gonna put N for number. Increased means to add, and then is 45, so equals 45. On the second one, the difference between a number P and 6, so difference means to subtract. So P minus 6, is means equals negative 14. Then you'll go through and work your way through to solve. So on the first one, you should have ended up with 36. And on the second one, you should have ended up with P equals negative 8. That's it for this lesson. So the key thing on these last few is just understanding words that are most commonly used. For addition, it might be sum, increased. For subtraction, it's usually difference, subtracted by, decreased by, things like that. So good luck with these, you guys. Just keep plugging away at them and giving it your best.